What's up everyone, Ace here. Last season we were able to claw back the title of best class and best build in the game with Poison Shred, as it has netted me rank 1, 2 and 3, leaving all the Hota barbarians crying. But what can we do this season now that they have nerfed our Shred build? The first build that comes to mind is Lightning Storm. Lightning Storm has received some disgusting buffs this season with a new unique item, the Aesthetic Gloves. With this glove, Lightning Storm is doing double, triple damage. Why is it a good build even though it does not have the highest damage? Well, this season it has a very high focus on speed farming, as the highest possible content is not the AOZ tier 25, but simply Nightmare Dungeon tier 90 is where you wanna farm your best in slot items. And the new leaderboard mechanic is gonna be a tier 70 equivalent Nightmare Dungeons, meaning that speed farming, large AoE, high movement speed, and ease of play are gonna be king. Lightning Storm has all those qualities, but also has a series of issues like single target damage, resource problem. In this video I'm gonna discuss how I went about fixing those issues, but also about different variations of the build, and how I'm gonna dive deep into all the aspects of Lightning Storm in the upcoming days to give you guys the most optimized build possible. Of course, we're also gonna talk about being the first build of the season, what can you replace in the build, and how to fix all the issues coming from the lack of uniques. The main difference between my version of Lightning Storm and the other versions of Lightning Storm is that my version is tankier but also does more damage and has less resource generation issues. How do we achieve that? It's a little bit complex, but it all starts with the ability of using Thibault's Will with efficiency. Thibault's Will only increases your damage for 4 seconds after you become unstoppable, meaning that if you try to use Thibault's Will with something like Grizzly Rage, where you only have unstoppable for 6 seconds, after 10 seconds you're not going to be able to get Thibault's Will, you don't get the resources, and that's why, in my opinion, the version of the build that Rob has posted is not really good, and also all the other versions are also not really good. What do we do to achieve this? Most important thing is to play with Nature's Fury symbiotic combination. This allows us to always have the 40% damage multiplier up, but also allows us to fix a lot of other issues that the build has, like unstoppable, resource generation, etc. In combination with that, I'm also using Ghost Walker for receiving extra move speed and the ability to walk through enemies, which is no little detail, as this increases our efficiency in clearing dungeons many times over. I'm using still the Tempest Roar because Lust for Carnage is a very good Paragon board for resource generation, but might get rid of that later on. We're gonna talk about that. The combination of Nature's Fury and Thibault's Will with Earth and Bulwark is extremely powerful. Now let's go talk about a little bit about the talents before we come back to the gear. We are gonna start with the Keystone passive Nature's Fury. Nature's Fury procs more Storm skills and Earth skills at a 30% chance. These skills function as a Storm skill and an Earth skills even if they're Earth, so Landslide will be a Storm skill, which also is going to be a Wolf skill. And then a Wolf skills is gonna work with your Paragon board, Lust for Carnage, and you'll be receiving resources from Lust for Carnage for those skills. Even though this doesn't necessarily do a lot of damage, you need to understand the fact that we have perfect uptime on 40% damage increase on Thibault's Will, more than make up for that, as well as the ability to have massive amount of resource generations whenever we cast Earth and Bulwark, and reset the cooldown of our Thibault's Will and getting our 50 resources from that. So that is for our Keystone passive and why I'm using that over something more common like Ursine Strength, or maybe going for Earth and Might. Earth and Might, I want to say that is a really powerful aspect. The problem with Druid is that right now we have a lot of uniques we want to play, including in the future the Starless Sky Ring, the Uber unique. We have already 1 unique, 2 unique, 3 unique, and we want to play a 4th unique. It's getting really hard to fit things in the build. For that reason, needing to have an extra aspect for Earth and Might is not great. Okay, After that, what we do is we take full points in Defiance, Circle of Life, Resonance. Resonance pretty good, as 30% of the times you cast a Storm skill, you also will cast an Earth skill, and this will proc your Resonance passive. We take 3 points in Heightened Senses, and we do not need to get Fortify from here because Earth and Bulwark will provide all the Fortify we need. I like to play with Trample, as that allows you, if you get stunned through your Bulwark by damage, to have an extra ability to proc Unstoppable, get more resources back, but also just to right away reposition yourself, as this build likes to play from far away range if possible. And Venom, of course, another big reason why we have to play with Tempest Roar, so that our skill Poison and we get the Envenom buff. Also, unfortunately, I do not have Envenom Amulet, so I'm losing a lot of damage. My gear is not that really good yet, so we take Element Exposure for vulnerability. I might consider to play a build without the vulnerability, but for now we are trying to get vulnerability by having Elemental Exposure and Exploit, but that might get rid of. Also, because there is a possible variation of the build with Bad Omen and Electrocution that I'm not running because it has less single target damage. We're going to talk about that later when we cover the Paragon board. We take 3 points in Brutal Ravens because that gives us more Ravens. And we only take 1 point in Wolves and Poison Creeper because we don't really play with those abilities. We only cast Ravens on bosses. We never touch this stuff. Nature's Reach is fairly good as it is a 20% damage increase. Sorry, 18% damage increase. It has damage to distant enemies, which I find very powerful. It is also multiplicative, and you play from ranged a lot. We take full points in Vigilance, Ancestral Fortitude. I have 2 points in Earth and Bulwark, preserving Earth and Bulwark for the Fortify. 3 points in Gate for move speed, only 1 point in crit chance to close enemies, because you stay distant a lot. You enter a room, just blast everything, don't waste time getting close. We have Wild Impulses, and I have Raging Light and Storm, which I have to test because I'm thinking that maybe this does not work. And Light and Storm Immobilize might be interesting to play if we end up using Electric Shock, which I ended up deciding that it's not worth it, as most of the time elite mobs die before they get immobilized with only 1 or 2 hits, and bosses can't be immobilized, which I find then to not really give you any benefit. For basic skill, you have Wind Shear and Enhance with Wind Shear just to get past that point. Let's go and talk about gear a little bit more. So for gear, I'm using a Natural Balance on my Amulet, which gives us damage to Earth and Earth skills, Landslide, but also gives us a massive amount of critical strike chance. In fact, it's 18%, and this procs with Nature's Fury. So 18% crit chance is a lot. A lot of extra damage, especially because the defining feature of the build is that you want to crit. Because whenever you crit, you get more Lightning Storm procs at an increased damage rate. For rings, I'm using Stampede, because Retaliation has been nerfed. If Retaliation wasn't nerfed, it would be better than Stampede. Then I'm using Retaliation because I don't have Starless Sky. The other possibility is to use the Electrocution Glyph, 20% damage, and playing with Lightning Dancer aspect. I do not find that to be really good because it has less single target damage than playing simply with Guzzler and Retaliation. Next, the Ghost Walker, we talked a little bit. I like the move speed. I like having armor on the boots, thanks to Tempest Roar. Armor while Werewolf, very important. We armor cap without having to play any armor aspect. My weapon, not great. I haven't rerolled it yet. I need all stats on it. And also need the damage to close as well. Might also try one-handed weapon, which have the added bonus of allowing us to snapshot a lot of things. But snapshot hopefully gets fixed before Gauntlet. And the main reason why two-handed is good for this build is because Lightning Storm, when you're channeling it, and you're not stopping to channel it, it has a fixed attack speed, so your attack speed doesn't really benefit that much. But in the case of this build, you don't really want to channel it too much. You want to stop cast, just spam it, just click the button really quickly, because that way you get more Earth and Bulwarks. resets, as it does not reset unless you do that. A little bit clunky. Unsung Ascetic Wraps, it's the new unique. You get one more Lightning Storm whenever you crit, that's why we get so much crit. Very powerful, you get extra damage, you get lucky hit chance, Ranks of Defiant, which is a 12% damage multiplier, rank 2 Lightning Storm and crit chance. Literally has everything you need. You get this unique from Beastie Nice. My chest, I have Nature's Fury here. Not a perfect roll, not the greatest chest, but pretty good chest. I try to have max life now on from my build, so I would like to get it. Max life is now multiplicative with the Paragon nodes that have max life. We have a lot of it as a druid. Very good to abuse that. The helm is Tempest Roar because allows us to have proc of Envenom, to have proc of Lust for Carnage. This way we have resource management. For the pet, I do not know yet which things for the pet are good. Honestly, the pet is almost never with me. It's like somewhere in the dungeon, doesn't really do anything. But Flash of Adrenaline, it's good, it lasts 8 seconds. I have currently damage reduction on it, fortify support, gripping support. Never seen it grip anything in my life. I have multi-shot efficiency for a little bit more crit chance. This is good on bosses. And breaking support because I hope it gives me more vulnerable on bosses. And I have lightning bolt on it. I'll dive deeper into the construct as I focus a little bit more on it, but honestly this season mechanic not the greatest. For boons, we have the newly bug fixed Avian Wrap. Now it's multiplicative, it's 30% more damage, very powerful. When I have everything fixed for my build, I'm expecting to have 3 or 4 times more damage than I have now. Iron Feather, 14% max life, damage reduction from Wariness, either bolster or energize, depending how much mana issues you have. Those are both good. And as last thing, Overlord Trash, don't take this. Take Masochist. The healing from Masochist is way better. And honestly, didn't really have a good time playing Electrocution, so I switched back to not playing Electrocution. But I will test it more, do a mathematical breakdown, and see what's up with that. Let's move on onto the Paragon board a little bit. And in this Paragon board, I've done some changes to the one you see on the website. I'm gonna tell you about it. First board is the same, we have Exploit. Second board, we have Guzzler, no problem here. Third board, I do not have Thunderstruck. It would only give me 11% bonus as I do not have good gear, so I'm not taking it. Taking more HP, taking more damage, random places, doesn't really matter. You might have the same issues as you don't have perfect gear in the start of the season. Anyway, here we take Keeper. These might be moved. I'm thinking of moving Keeper into maybe this board because I really like the fact that you can get extra HP nodes here. I really like having high HP. And I'm thinking of moving another Dexterity glyph here. Maybe Shapeshifter, honestly, could be interesting. I need to check if it snapshots on the cast of Lightning Storm. That could be something interesting to check. I really feel like this board is extremely well optimized as it has all the improvements I've learned from Abattoir Rosier. But I think there will be changes for sure in the next versions. So second glyph is Guzzler, third glyph is Keeper for more DR from Hubris. We have Spirit, we have Earth and Sky, we do not have Fang and Claw. Very weird, I know. And that's because we don't play from close range a lot. Same reason why we don't have Territorial. That's fine. But if I get rid of vulnerability from the build, I will have to reassess the situation. Right now we get vulnerability from Exploit and everything dies in 3 seconds, plus we get a little bit of more vulnerability from the pet and also from some of our talents. Last board is Werewolf and we take Lust for Carnage. Remember that this board needs to be taken, if you have Tempest Roar, as soon as you can. And what I mean by that is actually take it as your last board that you can afford. If you're level 90, you probably can't use this board, you're gonna have to put this one so you can get the resource generation. In fact, now that we can talk a little bit about resource generation, you're gonna have some resource generation problems. To fix your resource generation problems, there's a couple of things you can do. Of course, Tempest Roar, T-Bolts, you know, fix all of that. If you don't have that though, what do? We are gonna use an aspect called Starlight Aspect. Now I'm gonna show you the aspect. The Starlight Aspect is what I also used in Avatar of Azir to get all the resource generation needed for my Shred build. And it says that your primary resource is gained every 25% of your life that you heal. This only works with actual healing, not overheal, but trust me, really effective to keep your mana topped in all situations. So this is your choice if you do not have all the correct item for the build. If you don't have this one, you can try Umbral, just not gonna be as good. Overall, I felt really strong playing this build, even though my gear isn't perfect and I can go still a long way to make it better. My single target has been pretty good on bosses. I think the Ascetic Wraps, getting a second Lightning Storm, but also using Banner of Retaliation and Gazler for just more direct damage and not focusing on Electrocution and Lightning Dancer, which don't do anything to the boss, has made single target a lot better, and my damage on AoE anyway has always been great. So I'm feeling like the boss damage problem is really not gonna be there. For tier 190 and tier 70 the Gauntlet, I feel like the build is gonna be extremely solid and overall a great build. I even do Duriel with it, it's really not a problem. Obviously it's not gonna one-shot it like a Barbarian does, but it's a very fun build to play and something we have not had a chance to play before. Guys, I hope you enjoyed the build. There will be many improvements, so if you have any question, you can join me on my Twitch. And yes, you can just wait and see what changes I make to the build. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. I will see you on the next one.